So my name is Richard Curtis, and I look after digital imaging here in the UK for Adobe. My main remit is looking after those products, really, so inclusive of Photoshop, Lightroom, Elements, Creative Cloud, and also now Creative Cloud as well, and Creative Cloud for Teams, and the other offerings that we have around Creative Cloud. Creative Cloud is a very exciting project for Adobe. It means we're trying to revolutionize the way that creators are working and try and help creatives change the way that they work with their clients and people. And Creative Cloud for Teams is a perfect way of doing that. So being able to collaborate with your other team members or collaborate with your teams, have access to the software that you need. Everything's all available as part of that subscription service. So Creative Cloud was released early last year, and it's been a great success so far. And the people that are using Creative Cloud really do enjoy it, and they're seeing the benefits. So what are the benefits like, you're saying? Well, say for example, you were a wedding photographer, and this is in my world of imaging. You're a wedding photographer, and the bride says, yep, we want some photographs to be taken, but we also want a bit of video. I would also like to have animation on the front cover of our DVD. Previously, if you just got a copy of Photoshop, then you may struggle with that because you don't have the software. You'd have to go and buy another version of the software of After Effects or maybe Premiere Pro and then go and learn how to do that. And that could be challenging. With Creative Cloud, you've got access to all those applications, so you can just download whichever applications you need. So a good friend of mine is a wedding photographer, and he said, you know, as a small medium business, he's able to offer his clients much more value. He's able to edit video for them. He's able to edit animation and make animation for them as well as photographs, and be able to share that content with them and share that content off. And that's great for him as a small medium business. If we look at what's in Creative Cloud, there's actually much more than just what you used to have when you used to get Master Collection. With Master Collection, if you bought that, you're able to use that across a Windows machine or a Mac machine, whichever you bought. But we're completely agnostic when it comes down to operating systems in Creative Cloud. So if you're a Creative Cloud subscriber, you're able to download for a Windows machine or a Macintosh. Doesn't really matter. You've still got the two licenses to use across those different platforms. But the benefits of having those applications available to you when you need them is very, very attractive. So it means that as a creative, I can work in Photoshop and then suddenly realize that I may want to use Premiere Pro. So I can just download Premiere Pro and start working with it. Of course, there's not just the applications, the main applications inside Creative Cloud. There's also other applications as well. There's the HTML and web applications, as well as portfolio applications, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. One of the other services about the cloud and about the Adobe Cloud, and the Adobe Cloud is a little bit different to other cloud systems that you may have seen. When you look at a cloud system, you see a browser, and in that browser you have your content, and that's where you typically work. With Adobe Creative Cloud, it's a little bit different. You have what I term it as a hybrid cloud, which means you have the applications running on a desktop, as they always have done, and then you have services inside the cloud, inside the browser. So for example, you have something called Sync, Store, Share. So you have 100 gigabytes of storage on Creative Cloud for Teams as part of that membership subscription, which means you can put any content you want onto the cloud-based service, and then you can expose that and share that with other people in the community or other people of your clients or your friends or your peers. You can also download that asset and put comments on that asset if you're allowed to do so. But more importantly, by using what's called the Desktop Sync Manager, you're able to synchronize content from your local computer into the cloud-based service as well. So you don't have to copy and paste things or FTP or this type of thing. We do all that for you securely. That's also integrated into the wider ecosystem as well. So say, for example, you're using Photoshop Touch on the iPhone or Photoshop Touch on the iPad or the Android devices. You can edit on the go, you can edit on the train or wherever you're working, make some sketches and some ideas. So a lot of photographers that I meet are making mood boards, and they make mood boards on their iPads. When they're finished working, they can then upload that automatically to the Creative Cloud. The Creative Cloud synchronization will automatically pull it down to their desktop. So when they're in their studio or wherever they're working next, that content is ready for them to start working with. The other benefits, of course, as part of Creative Cloud is the ability to output to different platforms. And one of those platforms, one that I find very excuse me, very exciting, is a digital publishing suite. So DPS has been around for a couple of years now, and it's the de facto standard really around publishing applications to tablet devices. Inside the Creative Cloud, for both membership and team, you're able to publish as many interactive applications as you want to do. And when I say interactive applications, I don't really mean a book or a magazine like a PDF. I mean something much more richer and richer in content. And that's where all the applications really come together, because that content can contain video, animation, pictures, text, narrative, body of work, sections, subsections, all within a viewer that sits on the iPad or that mobile device. And you're able to create as many of those as you like through the InDesign product. So InDesign, without coding, without writing any HTML or JavaScript, you can put all your content onto those pages and then very quickly publish that out through our digital publishing platform straight onto those Apple devices using just an Apple ID, a developer ID. And that's really attractive, so you can do as many as you like. And as a photographer or a client work, that's an amazing thing to do. Business Catalyst is another application service inside Creative Cloud. Is a way for you to host up to 5 websites off the Creative Cloud. Typekit is used for type integration and fonts, so you can then use those fonts inside your HTML applications. The main benefit of Creative Cloud though is that when we make updates to the creative products, you get them as they come available. So as they come out of engineering and quality control, they come out as an update into Creative Cloud, which means you get them throughout the year rather than having to wait for the next big release. So for example, in December last year, we released a new version of Photoshop and put some new features inside there, some of which I'll show you a little bit later on. There's also some training in Creative Cloud as well, and you also get some support. So let's go in and show you what's in the Creative Cloud. So Creative Cloud, the main portal that you log into looks like this. I'm just going to log in with my Adobe ID. Now, your Adobe ID contains, if you like, all your serial numbers for all those applications that you have and all that activity that you can do now across the cloud. It also enables you to link things up. So, for example, we bought a company in December called Behance, and the Behance platform, I'll show you the Behance platform very quickly. The Behance platform is a way to have your content online and to share it with other creatives. You can create portfolios of work. So, for example, I can show you some of my portfolios of work. You can see there, you can look at the images and, excuse me a second, you can look at the images and look at the artwork and then share that across social media, social networks, but also track that as well. You can also have out of that, you can have what's called a pro site, which is a portfolio website. So if you're a creative, wants to put some assets on the web, you can do that as part of that as well. And that's all free as part of the Creative Cloud for Teams membership. So if I sign in, and my Adobe ID links all that together, I sign in with my Adobe ID, I get me access to my portal inside the Creative Cloud. The first thing you'll see is a link to all my files on the Creative Cloud. Okay, so all the files and folders that I have in my Creative Cloud is where I'm storing my assets. So you can see here that I've got PDFs, I've got images, and I've got folders. Let's just go into one of those just now and show you what's in this folder. So you can see in this folder you've got a mixture of Illustrator files, PSDs, InDesign files, a whole few things. Seem to have an issue with connectivity from the office today. Yes, there seems to be an issue somewhere. The benefit of using Creative Cloud for this type of asset is that I can click on the asset and our servers will render those files and render high fidelity content to be displayed in a browser. So for example, this is a PDF. We know this PDF's got 2 pages because we can look at the PDF and say it's got 2 pages and show that to the user. It shows the size, the width, and what access I have. And this is a public access. So it means I can give the URL for this content to somebody else outside my Creative Cloud network, and they can look at that content. And they can actually download if I give them activity to download, or they can put comments on if I give them access to comments. You also have color swatches as well. So those color swatches can be downloaded and brought into Photoshop and Illustrator. The comments side of it, I can put comments on my document here. I can also share. I can share that directly to Behance or with other users. You can see there it's public, and I'm allowing comments and downloads, and I can give the user a link, and that link takes them straight to that content. Now it is a public link, so they will go straight to that content. If I just go back to my files and open up a Photoshop file. So Photoshop, here's something I'm working on as a work in progress for another project. And this is showing a bit of 3D. So this is a picture of Kiev airport, and I've put in some text with reflections at the bottom of it. If I go into my layers palette, because we know it's a PSD file, we can then take out the layers of the PSD, and we can then take away those layers and show how that file would have been made up in Photoshop. So I use this for my blogs. So and I'll leave my blog details at the end, but if I have a blog, I want to show someone how to do something, I can then put the PSD file up in my Creative Cloud and show them how that content was made, okay? And they can follow those steps through. So another reason why you can use Creative Cloud for that. But we also don't just extend out to our own formats like Illustrator, InDesign, Photoshop and all those. We actually also support other things as well. So for example, this one here, this is a CR2 Canon RAW file. So we can render the RAW file using our servers and then display that RAW file to the user. Okay, so there's many different ways that we can do that. So this could be great for collaboration on a RAW file that you've taken straight out of the camera. Of course, the main feature of Creative Cloud is the apps. So you have the apps portal, and the apps portal enables me to download that content as I need it. A couple of key items there are things like speed grade, and again, this is the value of the Creative Cloud subscription service, which is, we bought a company 2 years ago called Iridas, which is a professional grading company for film. And that used to retail at $45,000 a seat. We bought the company because we needed to do some more activity around grading, and we put that into Creative Cloud as a free application inside Creative Cloud as part of that subscription service. We also put Lightroom in as well because we saw that a lot of people using Creative Cloud want to use Lightroom in conjunction with Photoshop for their image editing and image manipulation. Then of course you've got something called Creative Cloud Connection Preview. This is what's running at the top of my screen. So you can see here at the top, this is my connection from my website to my local computer. So if I open the folder very quickly, you can see there that this folder system and file system is exactly the same as what you just saw now on Creative Cloud. So those two are mirrored. If I add a file into here, that will then be automatically transferred into the cloud for me. Vice versa, if I'm working on my touch applications or tablets, and I work on some content and put that content to the cloud, it will then be synchronized back to my Creative Cloud website, but also to my desktops, which are connected to my Creative Cloud account. So you can see how those workflows really start to run naturally across the products and across mobile devices and also across the cloud-based services. We also have websites, web development tools as well as part of Creative Cloud that can only be bought as part of Creative Cloud, and that's something called Edge Animate, used for creating HTML5 animations. Edge Code is used for creating HTML sites with JavaScript and CSS. Edge Reflow is used to create responsive InDesign and how responsive websites look on different device formats. And then we've got Phonegap we mentioned earlier. And Phonegap Build is a way to build websites using HTML, JavaScript and CSS and be able to put that onto a mobile device through the Phonegap Build service. We mentioned about Business Catalyst. Business Catalyst hosting up to 5 sites for you across Creative Cloud. Story Plus is a way to write scripts for film or for anything else that matters. I use this for editing a shoot list for my photography, and then it's available on the phone as an application I can log into to get my shoot list wherever I need to do. And I can also collaborate with other users for that as well. And then the Behance as well we already talked about. But there's also some mobile touch apps as well. So we've got Photoshop Touch on the iPad, the Android and the iPhones. We've also got Adobe Ideas, and we've got Behance as well. So we've got Behance for the iPhone and we've got Portfolio for Behance on the iPhone as well. So you can see there's lots of value around the Creative Cloud, and it's not just around the applications like you had with Master Collection. There's a whole kind of gambit of services and support that you have around the Creative Cloud. So let me just show you a couple of things in the next couple of minutes, just show you a few things that changed in Photoshop that I get very excited about. One of the things is around Camera Raw. So Camera Raw is used by a lot of photographers, and a lot of people use Camera Raw with their cameras. Cameras are pretty prolific now. But we modified some features inside Camera Raw to really focus the photographer around highlights and shadows. So by implementing the highlights and shadows slider now, we can work on the highlights and work on the shadows, but also work on the mid-tone clarity as well, and boost that mid-tone contrast and get a really punchy image. We took these basic panel and put it across into the graduated filter and the adjustment brush, so that now you can paint in a graduated filter. So I'm just painting in now non-destructively a blue sky. So make this like a morning sky, but I could quite easily make it into an evening sky as well, just by moving the slider. All non-destructive. It's all really a nice way of working. And then of course the adjustment brush, you can then paint in different color wheels or whatever you need to do there as well. So all these are non-destructive edits that you can bring back into Photoshop. Now, one of the things that we released as part of CS6 in April was performance on the Liquify tool. So Liquify tool, as well as a few other tools, have been moved to the graphics processor. That's what's giving CS6 its speed and performance. Previously to CS5, we had things running across the CPU, which is where all the math runs. If you have both the graphics and the math running on the same processor, that's going to be very intensive. So by splitting them apart and having one of the graphics processor means that we gain the performance benefits, and if ultimately you as a creative will then benefit from that as well. So we have something called smart filters inside CS6, and smart filters will enable me to work on this object non-destructively and not have any impact on the image itself, but I can go back and readjust those filters. When we launched CS6 in April, we had some new filters called the blur gallery filters. They were destructive filters, sorry. In the Creative Cloud drop that's only available on the Creative Cloud in December, we added the filters to the smart objects, which means they're non-destructive filters. We also added Liquify. So to demonstrate Liquify, let's add a Liquify filter to here, and you can see how fast that was when it comes up on the screen. And that's also for very large documents as well. We can make some adjustments into this model's face. Please don't judge my ethics. I don't have many. And then press OK. And that now applies that to the filter as part of the smart object. I can then, as part of the cloud update in December, turn on and off that change, but also, more importantly, go back and change that Liquify layer and add some more adjustments to that layer. But of course, the main benefit of having a Liquify layer on a smart object is that I get a mask. So in the mask, I can click the mask, turn on the brush, reset my foreground background colors to be black and white, choose black to paint in black, and then paint out the adjustments I just made. Okay, so I can then paint in and fade in those adjustments as I want to as part of my edit. So a completely non-destructive, re-editable workflow as part of the update that came out as Creative Cloud in December. I'm pretty excited about that as a photographer and general user of Photoshop. So that's pretty much what we have time for today. So I'm more than happy to, I just want to leave you with one slide actually before we go, and that's my finishing slide, which is a takeaway slide. Just some content information from Adobe for me. You can reach me on Twitter at Richard Curtis. You can also go to my blog at blogs.adobe.com/Richard Curtis.